Story 1. Being expected to be available at all times. Work chasing you home, work messages at all hours of the day and night. Messages on vacation, sick days, etc. Story 2. Working beyond your assigned work hours. If I arrive on time, I should be able to leave on time. Of course, a bit of stretching every once in a while is okay. But this hustle culture of working 18 hours a day and wearing pride in eyes that look like they have been smacked hard and nice, this norm needs to be challenged and eradicated for good. Story 3. Demanding new hires have experience for entry-level jobs that would give them said experience. Obviously, plenty of jobs must require prior experience, but many of the ones that do really don't. Story 4. Long goodbyes. When I say it's time to go, I am ready to leave. The Midwestern politeness thing, where you say goodbye 5 times and it takes an hour, needs to get out. Story 5. Tipping at self-checkout, retail, or fast food just because the iPad suggests it. Also, not entering a custom tip when the options are 30%, 40%, and 50% of the post-tax total. Story 6. Telling people you're doing okay when they ask how you're doing when you're not doing okay. Forget that. Person 1. How are you today? Person 2. Not great, how are you doing? Story 7. Overconsumption. I think mindful consumption is so important. Yes, you can spend money on things, but I think it should be things you really value. It clutters up your mind space, your home environment, and the environment. There are so many ways to get your dopamine rush. You can even buy really quality clothes secondhand on Poshmark and The Real, and they can be priced at Shein and AliExpress prices, but with way better quality and prolong the garment's life. I personally got into social work and also volunteering in my own time, and I just do not have a need for endless things anymore. Story 8. Not accepting aging. 20-year-old girls shouldn't be getting preventative Botox. And actresses showing signs of aging shouldn't lose jobs. Aging like milk shouldn't be a saying at all. Normalize aging in general. Story 9. Tipping at every place. I am not opposed to tipping for table service or for something like a massage or pedicure or whatever, but I will never understand why I need to tip at Subway, Starbucks, and so on. Just pay your workers a decent wage. Story 10. Talking about sex all the time. I don't care about someone's favorite position or how many partners they've had unless I see them as a potential partner. Story 11. I feel like a lot of things are outdated right now, but the one which triggers me the most is that you have to be extremely polite when talking about money. Like, you get asked, how much do you want to earn from this job? And you cannot just say a number straight up. You have to write a whole essay, at the end of which you will be able to actually answer the question. And if you don't do it, everyone thinks that you are not polite. Like, what's the problem? Money was invented to be used the way they are used. Why can't we just get straight to the point? Story 12. Forcing children to hug or show affection to relatives they are uncomfortable with is inappropriate. Teaching boundaries and consent from a young age is much more important than avoiding a moment of awkwardness at family gatherings. Story 13. There are a few that come to mind. Having kids, not everyone wants them. Tipping, pay your workers a living wage. Entry-level jobs that require years of experience. Story 14. That bullying is acceptable. This view is not dying. It is growing exponentially. What deserves to die is the whole human race, and maybe we can start over because we've really messed up everything this time around. Story 15. Ostracizing people for buying things on discount. People often call me a cheapskate and poor for looking for discounts, but I am also not the one running out of money. Story 16. Lip fillers, Botox, artificial eyebrows, and other manufactured beauty. It's too much pressure on young people and creates a superficial anti-aging agenda instead of balanced wellness and healthy attitudes. Story 17. Tipping at counter food places like cafes and such. Expectation of body hairlessness for women, although that probably won't die. Trends like lip injections. Agree with people posting their babies constantly on social media. Story 18. Having to kiss and hug all your relatives. I've always hated that, even as a kid. I still hate it. My relatives probably think I'm very cold and heartless. I'm not at all. I love them, but don't want to kiss or hug them all. Only kiss and hug husband, kids, and grandkids, and only if the grandkids want to. Story 19. Everyone else is okay with not knowing what they want by the time they get to their spot in line. You should know what you want by the time you get to the order counter. Story 20. Thank you cards. It's a waste of paper when you can easily find other methods to thank people. I hate the idea that we have to do this exchange of thank yous in situations where gifts are appropriately expected. Story 21. I really dislike the rule that you should never ask a woman her age. It just supports the notion that women lose value as they age, and I hate perpetuating that outdated idea. Besides, all the women in my life older than me say life only gets better as they age, obviously excluding joint pain and other things that come with humans aging. I've watched my mom become a better, happier version of herself as she's gotten older. My life has only gotten better as I've gotten to know myself more. When I hear a woman confidently share her age, it makes me so happy and only makes me respect her more. Story 22. Shaking hands. I really preferred during COVID when we all weren't touching each other's dirty hands. Asian cultures are smarter to bow instead of touching a bunch of strangers and passing colds and flus between groups. Story 23. Hi. How are you? Good. How are you? The only acceptable answer is good. And people ask when they don't actually care how you are or even know anything about you. Stupid. Story 24. The you're young. Don't worry too much about life, saying, your young years are when you should invest into your mind and body the most and focus on starting to build wealth for your future. Story 25. Wedding culture under late-stage capitalism is insane. Let's normalize not asking your friends and family to shell out thousands of dollars or go into debt out of obligation. What happened to going to a local bar for a bachelorette party? Why are we planning 5-day trips to Miami? Story 26. Politely listening to someone who won't take a hint and stop talking. I've started literally saying, okay, I'm turning away now, or thanks for sharing, I'm going now. I used to worry that people would think that's rude, but then I thought, well, I've given them chances to pick up on hints and they haven't taken it, so they technically opted for the rude response, not me. Before you say, some people can't get hints. Okay, well, many others can and just don't. Story 27. Feeling weird about discussing salaries. We should all acknowledge that making a larger salary is not always, and maybe rarely, an indicator of someone working harder, being more qualified, or simply better at a job. Story 28. Being a hater. I'm serious, everyone is nowadays. When I was a kid, haters were know-it-all people who lived on the internet. Now everybody is a know-it-all at everything on Instagram or TikTok all the time. Now everyone's a hater. Can't watch a classic movie without families saying, hey, you know the new ones are bad? Story 29. The idea that alcohol needs to be at every adult event to be considered fun, birthdays, weddings, celebrations, etc. If you want to drink alcohol, okay, but alcohol doesn't have to be involved in everything. Story 30. Why do I have to go out of my way to say good morning to everyone at work? It's like if I forget I'm rude. And sometimes I say it at the wrong time and I'm rude then too. Normalize only talking to people when you actually want or need to talk to them. I hate small niceties. Story 31. Women often have to handle all the thoughtful courtesies. For instance, why is it that women are expected to buy all the gifts for families at Christmas, wrap all the presents, create all the cards, and remember all the important events like birthdays, holidays, and special times of the year while men can simply disengage? Story 32. We should have real living wages, or better yet, universal basic income. Customers shouldn't have to make up what an employer is unwilling to pay for fair labor. Story 33. Answering good. When people ask, how are you? Or, more cynically, asking how people are if we don't want to hear the answer. I am not Russian, but have read that in Russia, the social norm is to answer honestly. How refreshing would that be? Hey, Mark, how's it going? Oh, terrible. Totally burned out. How are you? Doing fine. But I don't know how I'm going to quit drinking a fifth a day. I feel like it would actually be a major step toward improvement as a society because it would mean we discuss real stuff, however briefly. And I think people would either develop more empathy or at least understanding, or be forced to stop pretending. I think that this stupid song and dance we all do where we pretend to care about each other, then conceal any issues we may be facing, and pretend that has been a real interaction is deeply damaging. A counterpoint might be, well, they do that in Russia, and is Russia so great? Do you want us to be more like Russia? I think overall, a lot of people could find a lot to admire about Russian culture and art. It's just their corrupt, evil government that sucks. So, yes, I think we should take what we can from Russian culture's institutional knowledge about dealing with a corrupt, evil government. It seems wise and timely. Story 34. Sometimes it's okay to listen to other people vent their problems to you. Just don't try fixing their problems for them. If you do that, they'll expect it every time they have a problem. Focus on you and your problems first and foremost. Story 35. Blessing sneezes. Somebody has an involuntary body function. Leave them be or offer a tissue if you insist on being polite. Not everybody has the same religious customs, after all. Story 36. Not talking about your salary with your coworkers. If everyone knew what everyone else was earning, wages would go up across the board, which is exactly why it is taboo. Story 37. This idea that if you are typically able to attain consensual sex with relative ease, then you would never commit sexual assault. This is what has enabled the rich and famous to get away with it for centuries. Just because lots of different women would likely have been willing to sleep with Kobe Bryant when he was in his early 20s, it doesn't mean that woman in Colorado wanted to. To a lesser extent, this is what has made it so hard for men to get justice against women who assault them. Story 38. That men are always supposed to hold doors open for women and not the other way around. I mean, it's a nice thing to do by any gender for any gender. No need to be weird about it. Story 39. Wearing inside clothes outside. For Westerners, that's like Ugg boots, Crocs, and pajamas. Anything else no one should wear anywhere other than at home. Always change out of your clothes when you come in from outside. The difference in cleanliness is amazing. Story 40. Having to shake everybody's hand when you first meet them, my hands are sweaty, and it gets worse whenever I meet somebody new. It's not a nice experience for anyone if there is a sweaty hand involved. Story 41. Listening to music or video or voice calls on speakerphone in public places. It's so common in the United States, but if you do this in a place like Japan, you will be shamed. Story 42. The way education is conceived and implemented is the root cause of many social problems. We are still teaching kids the same way they did in Victorian times, preparing them for white-collar or manufacturing jobs that no longer exist. We have over 100 years of studies and data showing that this approach is ineffective. The belief that education needs to be highly regimented and achievement-based, with an internal hierarchy, is neither beneficial for kids nor particularly effective. Sure, some students under pressure perform well academically, but this often takes a toll on their social and emotional well-being. Incredibly gifted students may excel in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but they often lack basic practical skills like cooking, applying for jobs, socializing, and maintaining work-life balance. This is the best-case scenario. Our ideas around education, intelligence, and achievement need to become more skills-based and individualized. We should teach children the skills needed to become adaptable and functional people who can take care of themselves and continue learning. They should be able to hold any job through information literacy, organizational and executive functioning skills, hands-on practical knowledge, and a broad general knowledge base. We should not try to mold them to fill jobs that may soon be obsolete. Story 43. Being loud in public. Everyone has completely forgotten basic common courtesy. When I am at the gym, there are always 1 to 2 people singing at the top of their lungs or talking on the phone the entire time. It is obnoxious. Story 44. Most body gender norms in general. Stop caring so much about what someone's body is supposed to look like compared to your partner and just enjoy the sex. Story 45. I guess there is this weird trend of solely blaming the victim for having weak boundaries or not having said anything sooner or at all when they distance themselves from an aggressor. I had this conversation with a friend in which I told them about this former friend of mine who talked me into joining their multi-level marketing scheme multiple times with her husband. I gave them excuses for why I could not at first. After they insisted, I straight up told them no multiple times. After that, The former friend and I had a one-on-one conversation without the husband in which she begged me to sign with such a terrified look on her face. I thought that she was in danger. So, stupid me, I did sign. Obviously, nothing happened to my friend. There was absolutely mental manipulation going on, and I did drop those people with no explanation out of the blue. Apparently, I was the jerk for that. People don't even know how many conversations I've been in which the conclusion towards the victim was, well, but you did let it happen. Obviously, some people are pushovers and have to work on themselves, but we can also acknowledge that there are jerks who smell and take advantage of pushovers. Story 46. Shaking hands with people and hugging people. Even before COVID-19, I hated the idea of shaking hands. I've seen too many guys walk out of a bathroom without washing their hands. I hate giving hugs and was forced growing up. Oh, just give your aunt a hug. It's just an awful feeling being forced to hug. Story 47. People expect you to always carry your phone and assume you are okay with them in the middle of whatever is happening, suddenly picking up a call or getting distracted by their phone. Story 48. Full formal wear for the office in 30 degrees Celsius weather. It is torture, especially when the air conditioning breaks down and corporate refuses to expedite its repairs.